My pleasure to be here. You have a sense of who Lewis and Clark is. I mean, you live here, you pay taxes here. It's been here since 1970. You probably knew it as Monticello College. Before that, never called Monticello, always Monticello College. It goes back to 1838. Godfrey had the idea in 1835, but the first students were 1838. So it was the second oldest women's college in the nation. Mount Holyoke back east beat them out by about 6 months in terms of the first women's colleges in the nation. When we think about it, then this area, it was a 2-year college, by the way, 2-year liberal arts, women's college, unusual in that sense. So we think about this area has made a commitment to the education of the next generation, generations to follow, since before the Civil War, since 1835, 1838. The Lewis and Clark expedition was 1804, 1806. In terms of think about that in terms of the founding of the country and the continental imperative and things of that nature. And so, because of the confluence of the great rivers here, I think this has always been an important spot, always been an important natural geographic spot, formation, geological formation spot. It's also been a great crossroads for our nation, and still is. We serve parts of 7 counties: Madison, Macoupin, Jersey, Calhoun, Greene, Morgan, and Scott. That's 18,000 square miles, 220,000 people. One of the things that is, I'm sure, on your minds right now, it's on our minds, is the overall state of the economy, both locally and in terms of the state economy, national economy. And so I wanted to, mention a couple things about, the overall, economics of the economy and kind of how we see our role in helping to connect people with jobs, with careers. So, some of you probably are of the opinion that in education, if you talk to politicians and elected officials, they'll say that education, those are tax eaters. You can't put enough money into education to fill that vessel. It's the hole down which a lot of money goes. I'm from Kentucky originally, and one of the guys who was running for superintendent of public instruction, who was the highway commissioner back in those days, was addressing a group of educators, and he said that if the cost of education keeps going up, we're going to have to take a second look at ignorance. He didn't get elected, by the way. And I'll assure you, the price of ignorance is a lot more than the cost of education. We're funded by 3 main sources of revenue. The state revenue, if I talked to you 5 years ago, it would be about 32% of our revenue source. It's about 22% now, so it's gone down about 10% over that period of time. They actually owe us about $1.9 million on the money they've theoretically allocated through the state system, and 38% comes from in-district levies and the taxes you pay, and the rest comes from student tuition. So those are sort of the 3 legged stool that we see as a revenue source. Our levy rate has never changed. It's still 25 cents on $100 of assessed valuation property since 1970. And the way we know if we're using resources efficiently or not is that we have what's called a unit cost measure. So we take all the costs that we spend money on, everything we buy, towels for the new bathrooms and halfway culturals, that all of it adds up. And so basically that's a unit cost when we get that done. So it cost us $190.21 in fiscal 11, which is the last year that we have numbers for, to produce 1 unit of academic instruction. And that's $25 below the state average of $215.86 for community colleges in the state of Illinois. So we have a pretty good sense that we're being very efficient with the resources we have, given our growth pattern and given the nature of our work. And if you can imagine, terms of bang for the buck, it costs a lot less to go to a community college than it does to go to a university in the first 2 years. Obviously, they have a different mission, they have a research mission, things of that nature. There's no denying that if you keep the quality up and the cost down, that's the best buck for taxpayers, anywhere in America in terms of higher education. And Illinois has the third largest community college system in the nation. There are 48 community colleges. If you count all the students that we educate, the workforce students and the academic credit students, it's about 1 million students in higher education in Illinois right now. It's about 60% of all the students who are in higher education are in community colleges. So I just kind of wanted to point out that, and if you, we're not a tax eater in a traditional sense of education. We actually contribute about 4% of the GDP of the area we serve, those at 220,000 people in those 7 counties. So if you didn't have us, you'd have to raise taxes by about 4% because we generate 4% of the GDP of our region. And when you think about it, that kind of makes sense because if you have a student that comes out of, first of all, 98% of our students or more are from that county, those counties that we talked about. And generation after generation of people want to stay here and work here and live here. So if you think about from 1970 forward, each year we're putting about $26 million into the area economy that we generate, through our mission. And if you accumulate that over the course of time in a productive life cycle, if somebody's working, that's about $260 million a year because it has a cumulative effect. And so that's about 4% of the area GDP. So if you have a nurse, let's say you have a high school student coming out of Roxana, school straight for East Alton, Woodruff, and they become a nurse at Lewis and Clark, then they'll come out, they'll earn on average about $60,000 a year with benefits. They'll work in the area. They might meet a student from, say, Jerseyville High School at Lewis and Clark, and that person might be studying process operations technology, and they're going to work in the refinery. That's an $80,000 a year starting job with a 2-year degree in process operations technology with benefits. If they combine those incomes, raise a family here, you can start to see the economic benefit that they generate, for the area. And that's the nature of what we do. I was asked to kind of talk by, John asked me to talk a little bit about some of the new things that are going on at Lewis and Clark and some things you may or may not have heard about already. So a lot of people ask me about what is this National Great Rivers Research and Education thing down at the Lockett Dam, and why is Lewis and Clark involved in that? Well, basically the name kind of says it all. It's the National Great Rivers Research and Education Center, and we're the 3rd largest watershed in the world. 60% of all of the agricultural products in America go down this corridor. The Mississippi River watershed is from the Continental Divide in Colorado to the upper New York State, and it sort of drains down this corridor. About 46% of the continental United States drains right by the arch there from that funnel and goes straight to the Gulf. And there are fish species in the river that saw the dinosaurs come and go. They're ancient plankton-eating fish species. A lot of biodiversity in this river because it's a north-south river, so the last ice age didn't really cut it off in the way that a lot of watersheds were damaged. It's 3,000 miles in length. There are vessels on the river that are larger than the largest ocean liners that are made. And with the Panama Canal expanding, it's going to even be a more dramatic use of the river. We have the largest experiment going of sustainability of a watershed like this anywhere in the world. Other watersheds that are larger, the Amazon watershed, isn't fully used for navigation like ours is. So can you sustain this watershed in the perpetuity for the generations to come? Keep it healthy and vital in terms of its economic interest and its ecological interest and its freshwater source for the nation. It connects the Great Lakes with the Gulf, and that's our major freshwater supply in the nation. And as the drought hits and as other rivers become less productive, the nation is going to depend more and more on this watershed. So, there are invasive species there. You've heard about the Asian carp, but there are 12 aquatic invasive species. There are invasive turtles, and about 20 or so in terrestrial invasives. Japanese hops, things of that nature. They're killing out and destroying natural habitat of the historic fish and the historic plants in our region. People use the river in all kinds of ways for cultural and ecotourism and for work. And how do you sustain that river in that sense? And so that's the nature of this work. You know, people know about Woods Hole Oceanography Institute, you know, in Massachusetts, so they know about the scripts on the Pacific Ocean in Los Angeles. And so we're basically aspiring to be like the National Oceanographic Institute for freshwater research. And we partner with the University of Illinois to do that. We have the sense of place here. We are the public engagement entity. They're the big research land grant. And about the Illinois Natural History Survey is a partner of ours. It's a 150-year-old survey, one of the best surveys in the nation. It knows all about the natural environments of Illinois. And, you know, about 15 other universities. Come on, it's okay. Okay. There are about 40 jobs have been created, you know, at NGRIC. We're bringing in a new research scientist, a soil scientist from Texas A&M this next week, adding to our aquatic capability there. We've entertained, because of the State Department and the Army Corps of Engineers, you know, international delegations from Leeds University in London, the Magdalena group from you know, the Magdalena River in Colombia, the Lower Mekong River Commission, the Yangtze River Commission. So all these are sort of international delegations that are coming through, you know, learning techniques that we know, the Army Corps and the academic community and the NGO groups like the Nature Conservancy and the Conservation Fund and people like that, you know, on how to sustain this vital resource. You're welcome to, you know, give me a call. I'll be glad to give you a tour of the place. There's about $6 million of construction that's about to happen there. We're expanding the building. We're putting in these mesocosms, which are raceways that will bring 3 million gallons of water a day into the back of that building, outside in these sort of raceways that connect with each other. The Dynegy plant there brings 300 million plus gallons of water a day in to run the power plant in Nolan and some of the area industry. And so we're going to pipe off 3 million of the 300 million, you know, to run our mesocosms, and we've kind of done a collaborative agreement with them. And then at some point within the next year or so, you know, they exit 300 million gallons of water out of that power plant a day too. It's slightly heated, but it's all sort of scrubbed up, so to speak. And so that's a great place to put hydrokinetic turbines, because the water speed is great, and you don't have to worry about debris and everything, zebra mussels and things. So we'll be putting a hydrokinetic device there, one of the first in the nation, to power a building down there, and sort of demonstrate that hydrokinetic power can be used in ways that can be non-grid sources of electricity, which the State Department and the Defense Department are very interested in right now. It's a little bit of a thumbnail sketch on, you know, what the National Great Rivers Research and Education Center is, and one of our, you know, sort of new initiatives over the last few years. In terms of career programs, we have about 35 different career programs. You know about automotive technology and nursing. We talk about nursing. We have a 300 student nursing program annually now, which is the largest associate RN nursing program in the state. But I want to tell you about, you know, we're adding, you know, dental hygiene, occupational therapy assistant, a whole range of programs like that. I mentioned process operation technology. But now we're looking at transit and rail technology. You saw I'm putting in the high-speed tracks here. It's a real problem in terms of getting kind of the labor force of the future on a maintenance away, because it's got to be technology and machine-driven. There are no more Gandhi dancers that, you know, use the poles and things like that. I guess there are a few, but most of these railroads now are very high-tech. And so we're putting together in the next 12 months a program that's Class 1 railroad-driven, which will have Class 1 railroads on our advisory council, and then suppliers and then short line people, you know, to start to produce the maintenance away requirements for the rail industry. We had a visit last month from a group called the Siemens Church Institute. A pretty amazing group. It's a Presbyterian church group out of New York City, out of Manhattan. And they, in 1800s, they saw that nobody was ministering to the maritime workers. They're an unusual group because they go out to sea and come back, and so couldn't do regular church services, so they made that a constituency of theirs. So, ministering to them was one thing. Then they had healthcare needs, and their families were involved, and so they got into healthcare for the maritime ministry. Then they got into educational needs for the maritime ministry. So now they're a national in scope, maritime ministry, a non-governmental organization, 501c3. They have simulators in Houston, multi-million-dollar simulators to train, maritime pilots, and one in Paducah, Kentucky. The chemical one is in Houston. The non-chemical one is in Paducah, Kentucky. We work with Ingram Barge and all the major barges. So they're having a very difficult time, with the industry because of the nature of the industry and getting people that can work the shift work that has to be done and the hours that have to be done away from their homes for the length of time they have to be away, and maintaining health and nutrition and the ability to work, substance free, and a whole range of things that way. They spend $500,000 on a pilot, and then they get diabetes, they get issues with health, and then so they to elongate the length of time that they stay a pilot. And so if you can identify early on in a career, people with good nutrition habits, they work 6 hours, they have to sleep 6 hours, they have to go to work 6 hours again. If you don't go to sleep after that 6 hour period, you can't be a pilot on the next 6 hours. So the sleep habits and everything become really important. So we're looking at a maritime industry training program as well. So the blue collar and the pilot training, that'll be another sort of one of our new career programs. We're an institution of 23,000 students. We have 13,000 approximately academic credit students, and we have about another 13,000 workforce students. We're the largest workforce training community college in the state of Illinois, Chicago included. That's because of our industry here. We do all of the safety training and the badge training, or the badge, creating badges for people to work, contract workers to work in the refineries and things of that nature. Drug testing, skills testing. So we do all that work, for area industry. We want to be in a fast follow mode behind industry, basically, is our strategy. And all of our programs have advisory councils, and they're led by industry. We're bringing back welding in a big way this semester. We have 16 new welding stations. It'll be the greenest, most efficient welding stations that they make now. And we'll be training welders for the need that we have in welding. Out your way, Dave, we're looking at some aviation mechanic programs. Big need there. Can't find workers and train people, so we're looking at aviation mechanics. It's not an associate degree program, but it's a way to fill a niche for now. So very entrepreneurial, and we try to drive quality up and price down the extent to which we can. And we're looking at 18 consecutive years of enrollment growth this fall. It's going to be tight. We're about 4% behind right now, so to speak. But we're competing against ourselves now. It used to be kind of low-hanging fruits. The low-hanging fruit's all been done. So now, year over year, we thought of everything we could think of last year, and now this year we're competing against ourselves. So but we'll be 1% up probably. I'm predicting by the time the semester starts. So I appreciate the support we get from the community. These are not easy times, and I think that it takes about 5.5 years for a student to earn back what they pay us to go to college. It takes about 7 years to pay the tax rate back. For a student that goes to college, the money you give the college. I'm going to mention just really quickly 2 or 3 things that happened to us recently. We've gotten 4 $2.5 million gifts over the last 5 years to the college. They just kind of are amazing to me that this happened. But if you are, if you're really hitting on all cylinders, and you've thought about this really hard, and you're creating value for the community, people see that, and they want to identify with that in ways that aren't predictable. So the first one is, and I'll give his name because he's deceased a few years ago. His name was Calvin Whitlock. His parents had a farm in Jersey County, Chris Stringhausen was on our board from Jersey County. Said, Dale, come up, I want you to have lunch with Cal Whitlock. We'd go up to the 518 about once a year for about 7 years. I'd have lunch with Cal Whitlock. We talk about the crops, and we talk about the Lewis and Clark's music program, and antiques, and we had a great lunch. And next year I get a call, it's time to go have lunch with Cal Whitlock. He was a great guy. So when he died, he decided to endow Jersey County. He's done an amazing thing. So he donated his family farm, really to a trust department in one of the banks in Jersey County. And of course, it's a managed farm, and so half the income goes to the farmer. The other half goes to scholarships for Jersey County students to come to Lewis and Clark Community College. So you have to have been born in Jersey County, or been living in Jersey County when you're born. And there's a difference. You can be born in St. Louis Hospital, but if you had a residence in Jersey County, that counts. And then you have to graduate from either Southwestern High School or Jersey High School. We'll have 45 students at Lewis and Clark next year that are Whitlock scholars, because of Cal. And there'll come a time when we won't have to charge tuition to anybody in Jersey County, because he essentially endowed the county. So if you know of 4 more farmers, only got 5 more counties to go. So that amazingly creative act of generosity by this guy who will help thousands of people, in the future. There's a man in Hartford, I won't give you his name because he's still alive, who was a laborer, never made over $250 in his life per week, he said. And he came in one day and he said, I had it pretty rough. I didn't have a lot of help, didn't have a lot of skill, and I had to do hard work all my life. And but he apparently never met an oil stock in his life. And so he said he wanted to, give us something to help the next generation. I said, well, Mr. Blank, I said, it takes about $20,000 to create an endowment in your name. He said, well, hell, I was kind of thinking about a building. So he had $2 million, and he basically put in an irrevocable charitable remainder trust, for a workforce building for the next generation of students. So there's these transit programs and maritime programs and welding programs. Eventually, the Mr. Blank Workforce Center, and we'll try to save this money to endow the program, so we keep that off the operating budget, the building, and we'll put some money into program development, things of that nature. And again, an amazingly selfless, thoughtful thing to do. That'll help lots of people. And one more is that many of you know that the Alton Memorial Hospital, I'm on the board of St. Anthony's Hospital, so I don't want to show any bias here, but the Alton Memorial Hospital, in fact, through their foundation, Jack Helmkamp had a lot to do with this, who was on both our foundations. Saw the need for expanding the nursing program. We had 90 nurses, and we couldn't generate any more than that because we couldn't afford to. There's a ratio of faculty to students in clinical environments you have to adhere to be an accredited program. So, well, what's it take? Well, it's going to take a $22 million building. It's going to take expanding out the faculty and the clinical environments and the student laboratories. And so basically, the college did a bond issue of $19.5 without raising taxes. We took Alton Memorial Hospital gave us a $2.5 million gift, and we took $1 million of that $2.5 million, and we paid the interest on the bond issue, so we wouldn't raise taxes. We endowed the building with $1 million, and we endowed the program with $500,000. So that's how we got the largest nursing program in the state of Illinois. And I think that one of our members here, his daughter, just went through the program recently, and he gave a testimony earlier about how effective the nursing program was for her, and she got a job and seems to be doing well. So that's how things are sort of happening. And as the state becomes a more fickle partner, a partner you can't trust, you can't rely on, people individually are stepping up like that, doing amazing things, and I can't say enough about the kind of support we get from the community.